5 years as of this week, no day has gone by without the Stoneman Douglas High community in our minds, whether or not in the headlines, and there have been plenty of those. The most recent, potential changes to Florida's death penalty laws directly tied to the jury recommendation of the Parkland shooter. This week, Local 10's Christina Vazquez put all of that into context.
The court imposes a mandatory life sentence
in November
without the possibility of parole.
The life sentences the Parkland trial judge imposed on the Parkland shooter for the murders of 17 Marjory Stoneman Douglas staff and students on Valentine's Day, 2018, were recommended by a divided jury, 3 who chose life.
The energy was so heated that we wanted to get out of that room.
There were many of us in that room that truly did try to seek justice.
And 9 who recommended death.
Seeing the faces of these families, seeing their reaction, it does still feel in part like we failed them.
And I don't think justice was served in that case.
And now this, a proposed change to jury verdicts in death penalty cases. If passed, state law would toggle back to non-unanimous jury recommendations. If at least 8 jurors determine that the defendant should be sentenced to death, the bills read, the jury's recommendation to the court shall be a sentence of death.
It's important that not just one person has that sole power and is fully aware that this is the power that they have in their hands. I think it's fair.
Parkland was the deadliest U.S. mass shooting to go before a jury.
Man, did we feel every inch of that, walking through the school grounds.
There is an active shooter working at Douglas. Multiple gunshots are being fired.
The 1200 building of Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School.
I heard the shots were coming from the freshman building.
Stands as a haunting reminder of the horrors that unfolded on Valentine's Day 2018.
The gunshots were getting closer and louder. The barrel of that AR-15 just ambushed our classroom.
Jurors during the Parkland shooter's penalty phase toured the building, preserved as a crime scene, bearing witness to blood-stained hallways and classrooms punctuated by Day of Love mementos, a chilling view of terror suspended in time.
I noticed that she had passed away. One of the students was injured.
2 of which were shot dead right next to me.
Broward Schools tells me it remains the district's intent to demolish the 1200 building as soon as possible, once it is released by the state attorney's office. You see, the building is still part of a case. This time, the upcoming trial of Scott Peterson, the former BSO deputy facing several charges to include multiple counts of child neglect related to the 2018 school shooting. As for what happens once the building is eventually demolished, Broward Schools tells me future plans for the site have yet to be determined.
Christina Vazquez right here for what we call our reporter debrief segment. So much to talk about, because what a lot of people might not know is you are one of very few people who have been in that building, did the walkthrough when the jury was there. And so I want people to kind of hear your impressions as an objective observer, but yet a member of this community who can't not be impacted by what you saw.
Thank you for the question and for being here and the opportunity. I really appreciate that. There are certain cases, there are certain stories and experiences that, as you know, just sit with you. And this will be one of them for me. In fact, the word I would use is that it's something that will, I know, haunt me, right, for the rest of my life. I will always remember what it was to be in that building. One of the reasons why I put that piece together, answering the question of what's going to happen with the 1200 building, is because it's one of the top viewer questions I received post-trial. Sure. And when you go to that building and you're on the school grounds, is the first time I really understood how close the building is to current classrooms that students and staff are utilizing. And it really is this imposing structure that just speaks to what was the darkest day for that community.
So when you were there, as impactful as it was, is it a significant trip for not only the jurors in the sentencing phase, but Scott Peterson's trial jurors will likely see it too? Is that an impactful moment for jury?
Well, what's interesting is a distinction between the two cases that we learned. So the jurors in the Parkland trial did go inside the building. We learned from the defense attorney for Scott Peterson, his request is for the jurors not to go into the building, but just see the exterior footprint for reasons that he'll articulate to the jury for his case.
Where Scott Peterson was.
Right, to get a sense of the distance and what he says is a pronounced echo in the area. But I have to say, for as difficult as it was to be in those spaces, it is gruesome. It is bloody. It is absolutely chilling to see what truly is, when you talk about fear, when you talk about terror, when you talk about a journey for survival, those concepts are grounded and anchored in very difficult physical evidence in those spaces. But I found it at the time to be incredibly helpful in its own way because it provided so much context. Because remember, when the jurors walked the path the shooter did through the building, that was after they heard all of that harrowing testimony from survivors, from medical examiners. You know, I got to see the same sensitive evidence that was not shared to the public, but we shared with you all in terms of verbal descriptions that they saw of autopsy photos and crime scene photos. It's a big building. It's a big crime scene. We're talking 3 floors, several classrooms. And so when you go through that building, at least for me, it provided a lot of context and spatial context. And all of a sudden, all of those pieces of evidence over that course of time just sort of cinched right into place. But it was also, again, harrowing because I'd walk into a classroom and I could hear the testimony because now I could see what the teachers and survivors were saying. And as soon as I'd walk in, for instance, when you go into teacher Deborah Haas's classroom, she had told jurors that the intensity of those high velocity bullets emanating from the AR-15 style rifle the Parkland shooter used was rattling the ceiling tiles, if you remember. And she talked about that there was a dust and haze in the classroom. And you see that film of white dust over laptops that are still open, along her desk that's disheveled in the corner where you see that evidence of a mad attempt of all of these students and staff to try to gain shelter.
Frozen in time.
Frozen in time.
So let me take you then, with all of that said, now the Florida legislature is looking at revamping, rolling back really, the death penalty law so that it does not have to be unanimous anymore. Clearly, the jury had a couple of people who felt that death was not appropriate. Some of the Parkland families, certainly that is not a unanimous group in politics and policy. Some of them thought that the death penalty was not appropriate. And yes, you saw this backlash sort of from so many people when the shooter was not sentenced to death. What do you foresee going with what you know and what you see? What do you think is going to happen as this is debated?
The intersection of this case and now this proposed change to death penalty jury recommendations is fascinating because there is such a plurality of perspectives.
Yes.
As you just hit upon, you have some of the family members that felt here in Florida, we have the death penalty. They view this as what the legal system views it as. It's the most punitive form of sentencing. And so in that outrage is a word you hear a lot, in that anger, that is underpinned by just bottomless grief and pain. And you have their perspective, which is how could even 3 jurors on this jury panel not think that the most punitive sentence in our legal system was appropriate for what happened to my loved one. You have 9 jurors on that panel that did think death was the appropriate punishment. And in speaking with that one Parkland juror who thought death was the appropriate punishment, it was interesting to note, she said her and her colleagues, they have the trauma of just not walking through the building, which we just discussed, hearing all that witness testimony. She described it as going through 17 eulogies. All of that evidence, they feel a trauma of failing, that they failed the families. And then you have the legal perspective on all of this. I mean, the one thing we as Americans value out of almost anything else is liberty. So when you're talking about something like a death sentence, it's the ultimate act of taking away someone's liberty, right? You've decided as a society in that case to take someone's life. So legal experts will say that is why due process and constitutional safeguards, these things are very important. And I think what happens is when you hear that, through a lens of, let's say, another case. Take a high-profile case where you've heard someone's been exonerated from death row because advancements in DNA technology prove they were never at the scene. Then when you hear this, due process, constitutional rights, safeguards, you want to make sure there's a jury of your peers are unanimous in deciding that death is the appropriate punishment. It's almost like folks can see that through the lens of a case like that. The Parkland shooter case is so egregious and so horrific. And it's also in its own way an outlier because remember, guilt was never at question.
Yeah.
Right? And so,
which played a large part in that.
So legal analysts say that's why they caution to take a case as unique as Parkland and use that to underpin a policy change. There's a little warning flag some folks put up. Yeah. And my question was, and I know you and I talk about this a lot, we kind of share, I think, a very similar process to our reporting, which is always a thought of context. Okay, well, where does this stand on a nationwide view? And I thought that was really interesting. The American Bar Association telling me of 27 states that allow the death penalty. Only one is non-unanimous, and that's Alabama, 10-2. There's 2 other states that do let a judge decide if it's a divided jury, but Florida would be an outlier.
Well, we will see. It's going to be an interesting session, and your perspective is so unique and so amazing, and I'm so glad that you were here to share that with everyone. And I just want to make mention that I think I personally, and I know you might have too, have promised the families that we will not give notoriety to the shooter by saying his name or showing his face, and I appreciate that you honored that here today.
Thank you for having me.